Shalawam, and welcome back to the Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassah Saiwan, and we are back with Yahawah's calendar according to CHANAWAK, who is Enoch. And this is part 4. We're going to be revisit our calendar. A few things came to light. And before we get started, my sincerest apologies for any errors that I have led you in, any misdirection. I too was misled by my own misunderstanding. But it's all good. One thing I have realized throughout this journey in rediscovering the truth is that we are going to encounter errors. All right? The reason being is because there are many layers of deception that we are sifting through. For example, the Gregorian calendar, time has changed. So, how can we understand the correct calendar without falling into error along the way? There will be mistakes made. I repented and I beg your apologies. I beg your apologies, but we're all learning as we are growing. Allah Hayam does not want us to throw in the towel just because, well, we don't know, we can't be sure. So just let it be. Let's continue on as we have always been, following the Gregorian calendar. That's not what He wants. He doesn't want us to throw in the towel. He wants us to keep searching, keep seeking, keep asking. If we stumble and we fall, we get up, dust ourselves off, repent, and continue on. Now, we're chipping away at the block, so to speak, to find the truth. When our forefathers left Goshen, many, many, many generations ago, they had lost the path of years. How did they regain the path of years? It was given to them by Allah Hayam Himself. It was written down by Masha and handed over to our forefathers. We today don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have Masha going up to Mount Sinai to retrieve for us the true path of years. We're already locked in to the Gregorian calendar, locked into Gregorian time. The only way this is going to be overturned is when Hamashiach, no, sorry, let me backtrack. The only way we can return to the true path of time is when we're regathered. For the southern kingdom first, the northern kingdom. And when Hamashiach returns to the earth, then the Gentiles will also return to the true path of years and time. Actually, there'll be no more time when Hamashiach comes, as a matter of fact. There'll be no more time. But anyways, in saying that, it means that we cannot stop searching and seeking and asking. The worst thing that we can do is throw in the towel and say, no, I'm not going to be bothered with this anymore. That's the lazy approach. When we are diligent, He rewards us. All right? He rewards us. and He is merciful. If we repent, He will forgive us because He knows our heart, that we are searching and seeking for the truth. We don't want to bow down to the devils of this world and follow after their ways. We want to follow His ways. And we cannot be afraid to be wrong. We cannot be. We cannot let pride get in the way and say, well, I rather continue on and then later on He'll show me. No, He wants to show us now. And we just keep scraping away at it until we get to the heart of the matter, till we get to the truth. Forget about pride. We're wrong, say we're wrong, and we move on. Actually, before we move on, we repent and then we move on. In searching, in our search for the truth. All right? So, it's going to be pretty long in a way because I will introduce the calendar, the months for the rest of the year and part of next year. And there was a reason why He kept me from posting all of the calendar months. I just felt it in my spirit that you need to hold on to these for a little bit. And I tried to release the immediate months so that you will know what day the Shabbat falls on and the feast days. I followed the same calendar that I put out there. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. And my apologies. Okay, so why and how did this all come to light? I've been taking a deep look at the feast days, and I still have one more study to release. By the time you hear this study, it would have already been released, part 10. And it was for that reason why I wanted to hold on to the calendars, because I kind of figured there was something afoot. There was something that I was missing. All right. So, without further ado, let's get started with part 4, revisiting our calendar, and I will show you how it all came to light for me. All right. I was given more clarity concerning the calculations of the months for CHANAWAK's calendar. But first, let us review what we do know thus far, as this will help with understanding how to correctly adjust the months. Let's look at the book of Jubilees, that's YAHAWAH, chapter 6, verse 30. All the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets, and there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year from year to year. Command you, Habanai Yashwa'al, the children of Yashwa'al, that they observe the years according to this counting, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feast, meaning the feast days. For everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to this commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, meaning the feast days, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will neglect the established rules. And the established rules pertains to the feast days and also the length of days and the length of months. What has happened? The Gregorian calendar is significantly different from our calendar. Time, according to the Gregorian calendar, is different significantly from the time Yahweh had established upon the earth, the time that our forefathers followed. Time, Yahweh's time, is perfect, and it made the calendar perfect. Now, once the devils changed time and and created their own calendars based on that time that was changed, then it meant that our time and our time meaning minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, would significantly be changed because there will be two different calendars that will oppose each other. All right? They will oppose each other. And there's nothing that we can do today to change time back to where it was once before. Because everything in this on this earth operates on the Gregorian calendar using their time. All right? So anyone out there that is following the Israelis' calendar or the Messianic calendar is still wrong, because Friday evening to Saturday evening is not our Shabbat every single month. If you're following after the Gregorian calendar, it is wrong. All right? It will still be wrong because Allah Hayam's time is different from the Gregorian time, or time that was set up by the devils and then created their calendar. Our forefathers were warned not to change Allah Hayam's calendar to be like the Gentiles around them, otherwise they would lose their path of years. And this is our predicament today, trying to find our path of years by first rediscovering our calendar. Verse 37 of the same YAHAWAH chapter 6. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they disturb the order, and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, meaning Shabbat, and an unclean day, a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months, and Shabbat, that's the Sabbaths, and feast, meaning the feast days, and the jubilees. And this is exactly what has happened to us today. We have been raised up in the church to worship on Sunday, the day of the sun. It is not our Shabbat day, unless our Shabbat, the seventh day, falls on Saturday evening to Sunday evening. But that was not the intention of the devils that have raised us, that has brainwashed us to believe Sunday is the day of rest. It is the pagans on holy day that they worship their devils. All right. And this is the current issue with the calendar months that I have done thus far. Due to trying to fit our calendar within the Gregorian calendar, which was wrong. So that was my era. Okay, we can't touch time, but we know that our months are made up of 30 days each, with the exception of 4 months, which are made up of 31 days, giving us a complete total, complete number of 364 days in our calendar year. What I was trying to do was to fit those 30 days and 31 days within the Gregorian calendar, which was wrong. It was wrong. Let's see why. My sincerest apologies. My intention is not to mislead anyone, but we're searching for the truth. All right? We're searching for the truth. The very first thing that we must be aware of is the difference between the time that Allah Hayam had established on the earth and how his time was changed purposefully. We're currently living under the Gregorian calendar that is determined by the change of time itself. According to Allah Hayam's time, an hour was made up of 90 minutes, and a day was made up of 18 hours. A month was made up of 30 days each, but there were 4 months in a year that were 31 days. This gave the year the total of 364 days. His time and these days fitted perfectly in his calendar until they were changed. Today, under the Gregorian calendar, an hour is made up of 60 minutes, and a day is made up of 24 hours. A month is made up of 28, 29, 30, and 31 days. Once every 4 years, the month of February changes from 28 to 29 days, which affects the year, making it a leap year. A year, according to the Gregorian calendar, is made up of 365 days, except the leap year, which comes every 4 years to be 366 days. So let me read that again. A year is made up of 365 days, except the leap year, which comes every 4 years to be 366 days, which has happened over the course of many years. Sorry, let me read that again. What has happened over the course of many years is the loss of time. Therefore, the year today is not the correct year. We have lost time, which is still being kept accordingly in the heavenly tablets, the heavens. Allah Hayam is still keeping record of time, thankfully. So let us do some actual calculations to see how much time is lost. So let's look at the Gregorian calendar, or the Gregorian calculations. I call it Gregorian calculations because the Gregorian calendar is based on this time, all right? 60 minutes times 24 hours equals 1,440 minutes in a day. CHANAWAK's calculations, this is according to YAHAWAH'S calendar, YAHAWAH'S time, 90 minutes multiplied by 18 hours equals 1,690 minutes in a day. So you take 1,690 minutes minus 1,440 minutes according to the Gregorian time equals 180 minutes that are lost daily. So you see what I'm meaning? And it all compounds. It doesn't just vanish into thin air. All right? 180 minutes. That's, according to CHANAWAK's calculation, 2 hours a day. All right? 2 hours a day. According to the Gregorian calendars, that's 3 hours a day. You divide 180 minutes by 60, you get 3 hours. Divide 180 minutes that are lost by 90 minutes, according to CHANAWAK's calculation, you get 2 hours. We're losing time. And we have been losing time since this came into operation. These 180 minutes that are lost daily will have a cumulative effect on time, displacing days in CHANAWAK's calendar. Hence, errors in trying to fit the exact days, our exact days within the Gregorian calendar. Just can't do it. You can't fit it. It cannot be done. It's like fitting a square in a circle. But we can make adjustments by staying true to the other formula that CHANAWAK gave to us. You see, Alahayam, Yahweh knew this was going to happen. And that's why he had hidden within the writings of CHANAWAK formula, the descriptions of the sun and the moon and how the part that they play in governing time under the dome. All right. This is all we have left now to help us to regroup ourselves. Let's look up first CHANAWAK. That's the book of CHANAWAK, chapter 73, verse 1. After this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. And her orbit is like the disk of heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in measurement. And her rising and setting change every month. So we cannot use her for time, but we can use her to help us to locate the beginning, the middle, and the ending of our months. All right? And her days are like the days of the sun, and when her light is uniformly, meaning completely full, it amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises. And her first phase in the east comes out on the 30th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day, together with the sun in the door where the sun rises. Now, I have already gone through these in the previous studies. In this particular study called YAHAWAH'S calendar. So I'm not going to go back into detail. I'm just showing you the formula, basically. The formula is right here in front of our eyes. I missed it. I mean, not really. I understood it, but I didn't apply it because it didn't fit. It couldn't fit. I was trying to fit the days, but not the formula. All right, let's read on. Verse 5. And one half of her goes out by a 7th part, and her whole disk is empty without light, and with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and a half thereof. And she sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the beginning of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible that night with the 14, that's 13 and a half parts invisible. 14 parts and a half of them, and the half of one of them, that's 1/14th invisible, 1/14th visible. All right, so let me repeat that again. So the sun, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible that night with the 14 parts, and the half of one of them is 1/14th visible. So when the moon is invisible that night, it means it's 13 and a half parts that are invisible. And the half of one that is visible would be the 1/14th that is considered visible. Sorry, that should be 1/28th. That should not be 14th. I'm so sorry. That's what it was reading kind of strange, because it's half of a half now. Because let me explain to you what is happening. As the moon is either waxing, meaning growing in her light, or waning, meaning growing less in her light, she grows by 1/14, right? Each 1/14 is represented is represented in a day, meaning a day, each day the moon grows by 1/14 in her light, except when it's coming on to the ending of her light and the beginning of her light. When she is losing her light, coming on to the last 1/14th portion of her light, she doesn't lose it all like that. It is divided in half. So 1/2 of 1/14th is 1/28th. Then, as she progresses over the earth and under the earth to rise again, then that 1/28th portion of light becomes 0. She is empty of her light. When she goes through her cycle, comes the next day, she starts to grow in her light, and it becomes 1/28th. And as she continues growing, the next day, the second day, she is now at 1/14th of her light. All right? So each day she is growing in her light by 1/14th, but we don't really see it. Or we can't really discern the growth of her light until she reaches 1/7, because 1/14th and 1/14th equals 1/7. That's why and this is what is really confusing if you're trying to do the math, because CHANAWAK is talking about 1/14th, he's talking about 1/7 of her light, but I'm trying to make it simple so that you can understand. When we see the moon, she's constantly growing in her light, or she's constantly losing her light, except coming on to the very ending of her light and the very beginning of her growing in her light, then the light is gradual. It's so gradual your eye can barely pick it up. All right? Another thing that I'm understanding, because I'm living in an area where there is not too much disturbances to the sun, moon, and stars, because we don't have a lot of street lights and um, traffic lights, right? So I can see the moon clearly as she traverses in the heavens. And even though there's still some light here, imagine the days of our forefathers when there are no street lights, no traffic lights, no lights in the buildings, no high rises. you just have a blanket of stars. So you will see the moon as she rises and when she sets. Same thing with the sun. And that helps us to track the moon phases. All right? It helps us to understand what CHANAWAK is saying. One thing that I have discovered since I've been here in the Middle East is that when the moon is waxing, she rises earlier and earlier. So, sorry, when she's waxing, she rises later and later apart from the sun, because she would now shine her brightest upon the earth at night. The sun is long gone. When she is waning in her light, meaning she's growing less in her light, she starts to rise with the sun. When she's completely empty of her light, she's now rising with the sun. That's why you don't see her. In fact, even if there's darkness, you're still not going to see her. And by the way, the moon is feminine, the sun is masculine. She's completely empty of light. But what begins to happen when she starts to wax in her light, she pulls away from the sun. The sun has set, and now you can start to see the sliver, the first sliver by the 14th, which is the second day after the moon has lost all her light, which we call the new moon. All right? And I have been fortunate to be able to see the first sliver. All right, and which has helped me to understand the formula. Because one thing is that she is consistent when she's losing her light. She's consistent when she is gaining her light. As I have already covered these verses, sorry, I forgot to read verse 8. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh, meaning 14th part. It should have been a 14th part, and comes out and recedes from the rising of the sun. And in her remaining days, she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. So if it's remaining 13 parts, even though the writer wrote 7th, it should have been 14th part. All right? 1/14. And I've already explained to you the 14th parts, the 17th parts, and 7th parts, sorry, not 17, the 7th parts, and so on and so forth. As I have already covered these verses in a previous study, I will simplify and show you the equation that must be followed. So we are not going to look at the 30 days and 31 days like I was doing. We kind of have to put that to the side. If it fits, it fits. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. We have to focus on the moon. All right? The moon will not lead us wrong. As the moon is waning, growing less in her light, as she approaches the final 1/14th portion of her light, it is divided in half to be 1/28th. It will be at this point of time the moon grows completely dark, as all her light is eventually emptied. This is the dark moon, which will become a new moon. But she doesn't stay dark for very long. She rises as a dark moon, also called a new moon, but light begins to grow ever slowly. By the following evening, the moon's light will grow to 1/28th of light, not visible to the eye as yet, until the following evening, when it grows to 1/14th of light. Now it is visible as it is setting for the evening. The sun has already disappeared maybe an hour before, so outside is a bit dusky, and you will see the first sliver as the moon is setting. The waxing is the reversal of the waning of the moon. So the waning, meaning it's growing less in our light, it's 1/14th, 1/28th, 0. And then it starts to wax in the opposite, 1/28th, 1/14th, and then it carries on 1/14th every day. It will be at this time that the moon will be setting after the sun sets, leaving enough gloominess because it will be dusk for us to see the first sliver. This first sliver will begin our first day of our month, regardless of whether our month has completed its 30 days, 30 days or 31 days cycle. So you understand what I'm saying? We have to follow the formula. This has been my error in calculation, which has caused a great displacement for the beginning of our months to be a week, sometimes longer after the first sliver. And if you look at the old calendars, you're going to see that. The moon, the beginning of our months were trailing long after the new moon appears, the first sliver appears. Or let's go back to the new moon. If the new moon was today, then the beginning of our month was, according to my old calculations, 7, 8 days, maybe even 10 days after, which is wrong. And I knew it was wrong, but I just couldn't. I just like, okay, Father, help me to make it right. And He has. We cannot try to fit our 30 or 31 day cycle in the Gregorian calendar. We have to stay true to the moon. We're not following a lunar calendar, we're still in a solar calendar, but the moon is going to help us to maintain the correct month, the beginning of our month, the middle of our month, the ending of our month. Therefore, our Shabbat will be correct and our feast days will be correct. And I'll show you how it will be correct. And I'll show you proof. All right? I'll show you proof. Let's read on. To keep us on track, the middle of our months must have a full moon. Easy, right? Easy. The middle of our month must always fall on a full moon, or at least a day before or after the full moon. It will not be perfect, but it will fall within the realm of the full moon. Cannot be 3 days after the full moon, or 3 days before the full moon, or 5 days before the full moon, or 5 days after the full moon. Must be within the day of the full moon. All right? This was my discovery for the Feast of Tabernacles that is celebrated on the 15th of the month, 15th of our month, which should have had a full moon accompanying it. And that was my biggest discovery. And I realized, oh, okay, that was wrong. It was wrong. All right. Therefore, when we follow the formula for the ending of the month, the beginning of the month, and the full moon in the middle of our months, we will stay true to our calendar. So we cannot try to fit in the 30 or 31 day cycle. You cannot. If the new moon comes upon one of our months and our month is not complete, we have to let it be complete. I'll show you. Don't worry, I'll show you. The Gregorian calendar has greatly displaced our calendar, starting with time. The change in time meant a change in the length of a day, which will affect the month and the year. We now can see this occurring with trying to re-establish our days and months in our 364 days in a year cycle within the Gregorian calendar, which is impossible to reconcile. Impossible. Can't do it. Impossible. They, meaning the descendants of the Nephilim, purposefully did this to keep us off the correct calendar, where we would call a holy day an unholy day, and their unholy day a holy day. It was a plan that they had established way back when their empire, ran by the Romans, were controlling the world. But soon, this will change. It will change, don't worry about it. Let us do some more calculations to see how much more time was stolen from us. We know from the previous calculations that there are 180 minutes missing from the time that was established by Yahweh. So let us go on from there. I mean, I can go on and on and on with this missing time, but it's pointless. But I'm just showing you, okay? Just showing you a glimpse of how much time we have lost. And 180 minutes divided by 90 minutes equals 2 hours per day. Now, this is according to Yahweh's time. 2 hours times 7 days. So if we're losing 2 hours each day, so you multiply it by 7 days, which will be 14 hours per week. If you take the 14 hours and multiply it to see how many hours in 1 month we have lost, we see that we lost 56 hours per month. So you see how it's accumulating each day, each day, each week, each month, each year. And it's been accumulating for a very long time. Calculating these hours that are missing will not be an exact science, so to speak, but this is just to give you an idea of what we're up against. We cannot truly know how many hours are missing, which will affect our days in our calendar as well. It will affect our days in the Gregorian calendar. That's why we can't have a full 30 days for some months, or 31 days. Some days will be shorter. Some months will be shorter. We know that these missing minutes will mean missing days, which will greatly affect what our days will look like when we make up a calendar, still using the Gregorian time, 24 hours, 60 minutes. 24 hours in one day, 60 minutes in an hour. Instead of our time, which will be 18 hours in one day, 90 minutes in 1 hour. We cannot change time as this is not within our power to do. We are locked into the Gregorian time. I call it Gregorian, but you know what I'm talking about. We're locked into this change of time, but we're not locked into the Gregorian calendar. We still have to use it as our baseline, all right, to keep track, because the rest of the people in this world are not using our calendar. But we're holding fast to our calendar to make sure that we celebrate our Shabbat on the right day and our feast days on the correct days. All right? We are locked into the Gregorian time, but not its calendar. I keep calling it Gregorian, but whatever, right? The Roman time. It's all Roman anyway. Thankfully, we're not locked into its calendar. Therefore, we need to make adjustments. We have to lose some days in order to at least get our months lining up with the cycle of the moon, as per CHANAWAK's instructions and the formula that he left. So what will happen to time in the near future? Yahweh will begin to wean the earth of time, starting by shortening time for the sake of his elect, the northern kingdom, who will be warring against the beast empire number 7 and enduring great tribulation in the time of Yahuwah's trouble. The southern kingdom will be taken into third heaven, so we are not really concerned with time because we're now above the dome. But the northern kingdom and the Gentiles will still be beneath the dome. So they will be affected by time. Time will begin to be short. I mean, some people today will say, well, time is already shortening, but it's going to be shortened even greater. And you would definitely know that it is shortened. Or yeah, it is shortened. Let's look at Matthew chapter 24, verse 21. For there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, they should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So for the elect of which is the northern kingdom, because they're going to go through great tribulation. And we can't forget the Gentiles that will be coming in with us, that the ones that will worship Allah Hayam Yahweh, they too will be affected by the shortening of the time, because the devils are coming to try to destroy life on the earth. That's what they plan to do. Either to transform people to be their abominations, so now they are not even acceptable to Allah Hayam Yahweh. They're no longer in his image. Or to just completely try to wipe mankind off the face of this earth through great tribulation. Now, this great tribulation is speaking specifically of the time of the trumpet judgments that will be coming upon the earth. Because the end times are divided into 3 sections. We have the birth pains, which would be the seal judgments. You have the great tribulation, which is in accordance to the trumpet judgments. And then you have the time of Yahweh's wrath, which is the time of the vials, the 7 vials. All right? So we know that the northern kingdom will go through what is called Yahuwah's trouble. That's when they're going to war against the beast empire number 7, but that will be during the seal judgments, the seal number 5 specifically, because by seal number 6, the beast empire number 7 will be put down. All right? They will begin their exodus, and they will be going through the wilderness and observing and experiencing up to the 5th trumpet judgment. They will, as long as they maintain the path that the Most High, Yahweh, is leading them on, they will not be affected by the trumpet judgments. But there will be some that will leave the group and they will be destroyed. Now, I discussed this in a previous study. This is not really the study for this, But I'm just explaining that for the great tribulation now that is coming on the earth, Yahweh will shorten time because he's weaning the earth of time. During the trumpet judgments which Yahweh will send upon the earth, time will be greatly shortened even further by a third. All right? Revelation chapter 8, verse 12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened. And the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So time was shortened in the daytime hours and the nighttime hours by a third each. We know that today it feels as if time has already grown shorter compared to the time of our youth. The shortening of time during the time of YAHAWAH'S trouble will be felt worldwide. But now, the judgment of the fourth trumpet will show the inhabitants on the earth that time will be drastically cut by 1/3. This will be Allahayam's way of weaning the earth of time as soon it will cease to exist. So let us calculate how much time will be left after it is shortened by 1/3. The Gregorian clock will still be in use at this point of time, so we'll be using the 24-hour clock. 24 hours in a day is made up of 12 hours of daytime and 12 hours of nighttime ideally. So this will be either the springtime or the fall time. All right, equal nighttime hours, equal daytime hours. This would either be a summer solstice or autumn equinox time period of time. I'm using these times as they are easy to calculate and easy to understand. So a third of 12 is 4. Therefore, the world will experience 4 hours less of daytime and 4 hours less of nighttime hours. 4 hours less of nighttime. This then means that time will be reduced by 8 hours per day. So instead of 24 hours in a day, it will then be 16 hours in a day. But this will not be for long, as by the next judgment, trumpet number 5, time will simply stop. The sun will stand still, and so will the moon. And this will be a phenomenon created by Allahayam, as there will be sunlight all over the earth all at the same time. Remember, you know how today it's morning in one country and nighttime in another? No, he's going to change that. It's going to be sunlight all 16 hours of the day of what is left of time. No more setting of the sun, no more rising of the moon, no more stars. You're not going to see the stars because the sun is shining. All right. This needs to occur in order to carry out the vile judgment number 4, the scorching of the sun like fire upon men upon the earth. There must be sun in order for this to occur, and not just in certain parts like we have today, but throughout the earth all at the same time. Now remember this, folks. Remember this. Because of the great earthquake in seal number 6, all of the land masses will reconnect to be one landmass. Okay? One landmass, as it was in the beginning. It was because of the flood that the one landmass was broken up into continents and islands. But now the great earthquake is literally going to bring all of the continents together. Some of the islands are going to disappear underwater. Some will appear because there's a healing of this landmass now to make it one. All the continents coming together to make it one. All right? So that's why the sun now will be shining over the entire this entire landmass. Everyone everywhere will experience like continuous sunlight. No nighttime anymore. And that's why when the judgment comes, where the sun is going to scorch men, this is the vial number 4. When it's going to scorch men, everyone that is not of Alahayam will be scorched by the sun. They will have sores and all manner of boils and stuff on their skin because of the sun. Those that belong to Alahayam Yahweh will be spared. He will cover them. He will protect them. The sun will only scorch the wicked. The sun standing still had happened before, and it will happen again. And not too long after this, the sun, moon, and stars will cease to exist. So after this judgment, the vial number 4, the sun will cease. The sun, moon, and stars will cease to exist. Because the world now, the earth, is getting ready for its king who will come with his light. And Alahayam Yahweh will come with his light. So there is no need for the sun, moon, and stars. Let's look at the book of Joshua, YAHAWAH'S chapter 10, verse 12. Then spoke YAHAWAH'S to Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before Habanai Yashwa'al. And he said in the sight of Yashwa'al, Sun, stand you still upon Gibeon, and you moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Yashar? That's Jasher. So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. Alahayam can do this again, and this time it's not going to be a day. It's going to be until it's time for the sun, moon, and stars to cease to exist. The sun and the moon standing still meant that time stood still, which will occur again according to the prophecy in Revelation. Revelation chapter 10, verse 4. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea. Sorry, let me read that again. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swore by him who lived forever and ever, who created heaven, and the things that therein are, and the earth, and the things that therein are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. Time has come to an end because he now has put out those lights. Time exists because the sun and the moon, which play their roles in establishing time under the dome. Sorry, let me read that again. Time exists because of the sun and the moon, which play their roles in establishing time under the dome. Okay, that sounds better when I read it that way. When the angel declared time will be no longer, he was declaring the destruction of the sun, moon, and stars, that they cease to exist. This was by the utterance of the seven thunders, who are the seven archangels in heaven, directing this angel to speak these words. The utterance from the seven thunders are kept secret until the time of its appointment, when they will direct this angel to speak these words. The reason why time will be no more is because Hamashiach and Yahweh will come to be the light upon the earth forever. So the seven thunders, and we discussed this in the previous study, they're the seven archangels, and they have a role to play. And the role to play will be to utter the command from Al Hayam Yahweh to speak to the angel who will call for the sun, moon, and stars to cease to exist. All right? Yashaoya chapter 31, that's the book of Isaiah chapter, 31. The book of Isaiah chapter 13, that's Yashaoya 13 verse 10. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Yashaoya chapter 60 verse 18. Violence shall no more be heard in your land, wasting nor destruction within your borders, but you shall call your walls salvation and your gates praise. The sun shall be no more your light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto you, but Yahweh shall be unto you an everlasting light. And Alahayakam, that's your Alahayam, plural, your glory. He will be our glory. The sun shall no more go down, neither shall your moon withdraw itself. For Yahweh shall be your everlasting light, and the days of your mourning shall be ended. Has that happened yet? No, it's going to happen in the future. Time will cease to exist because the sun, moon, and stars will cease to exist. And then the glory of Yahweh and the glory of his son, Hamashiach, will be the light upon the earth, starting with the 1,000-year reign and afterwards. Yahweh, which is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 14. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. Verse 15. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Yahweh also shall roar out of Shalawam and utter his voice from Yarawashalam, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But Yahweh shall be the hope of his people and the strength of Habadai Yashwa'al. So this prophecy is regarding Hamashiach when he will ride out with his saints, speaking of the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al, the redeemed, righteous remnant that will ride out with him on white horses to the valley of decision to face beast empire number 8. And there he, Hamashiach, will destroy this beast forever. And that will be the last time we will see any wars. Yahweh will destroy the last set of armies from the enemy, the last group of enemies, speaking of Gog and Magog. That's the Gog and Magog war. Yahweh himself will destroy them and cast their Satan into the lake of fire. Hamashiach is going to deal with this one. This is Beast Empire number 8, the final Beast Empire. And that Satan, which will be Azazel, who will be running the show. He's the demon, the devil, the Satan behind this empire. He will be cast into the lake of fire, and all those people that are with him will be melted. And the carrion birds are going to come and eat their flesh and pick their bones clean. Then Allah Hayam Yahweh will instruct his people to go bury the bones. All right? That's what's coming. Let's look at Matthew chapter 24, verse 26. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth, behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as lightning comes out of the east, and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So this is Hamashiach warning us that if people tell you to go into secret place to find him, the Messiah, Hamashiach, don't go. Because when he comes, he's coming with great light. Just like lightning, when you see lightning shining, flash, when the lightning flash in the heavens, you see it. It lights up the whole sky. But he is coming and he's going to be greater than lightning. And every eye will see him. Even the dead will see him when he comes. So he is not coming in darkness. He's coming in light. And his light will shine upon the earth. The whole earth. But before he comes, the light will go out. There will be some darkness. Just as he's coming. Because the sun, moon, and stars will cease to exist. Revelation chapter 19, verse 11. And I saw heaven opened, and behold a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he judges and makes war. This is Hamashiach. He's coming back as king. All right? He's coming back as king. Revelation chapter 21, verse 23. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon, to shine in it, for the glory of Allah Hayam did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. Who's the Lamb? Hamashiach. So this is the city, New Yarowashalam, that will be the center on the earth. Verse 24, and the nations of them who are saved shall walk in the light of it. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it, meaning the temple. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. Revelation chapter 22, verse 5. And there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun, for Yahweh Allah Hayam gives them light, and they shall reign forever and ever. So we are headed towards a time when there will be no more sun, moon, or stars, which means there will be no more night. No night. A perpetual day. And the light will be coming from Yahweh himself and from his son Hamashiach. All right, and we will be reflecting his glory. We will not have need for night because we will not have need to sleep and to rest. That was the weakness, that is the weakness of the flesh. But seeing that we will be transformed to be like Allah Hayam Yahweh, to be like him in his image, reflecting his glory, we will no longer need to sleep or rest. Our bodies will be completely renewed. We have nighttime now because of what Adam and Hawa did, brought sin into the world. And we are now dressed, cloaked in animal flesh, which needs to rest. It needs to eat. It needs to sleep. So that it is rejuvenated for the next day. But we're going to shed this animal skin, well, not animal skin, but this flesh with its nature, which is the sin nature, to become fully as what Allah Hayam Yahweh wanted us to be in the first place. But, we will be upgraded. We will be greater than what glory Adam and Hawa had. We'll be upgraded. We will have double their glory. The glory that once belonged to Lucifer belongs to us now. And the glory that Adam and Hawa had will also be restored to us. All of us will have upgraded glory. All right? Sorry. We see then a progression of time where Allah Hayam did not correct time on the earth, but rather decrease it until he stopped it completely. So he's not going to cause us to retrieve the missing time that we have lost, because really and truly, he's going to do away with time. Our forefathers needed to find our path of years so that they can keep the jubilees, they can keep the feast days, they can keep the Shabbat. We today, well, we know what jubilee that we're in. We're in the last jubilee. We're way past the halfway mark. We're actually just a few, well, I can't say just a few years, but we're way past the halfway mark. We're at least 8 years away from the ending of the last jubilee, the 120th jubilee. So we don't really know exactly where in our calendar where our jubilee is, where we are in the jubilee, but we know that we're close to the end, very close to the end of the last jubilee, leading us to the 6,000th year of the earth. All right, we know we're close. Just how close, we don't know. But we can tell by the escalation of things going on in the world that we are very close. And once you start to see other things occurring, for example, the 3 days of darkness and the regathering of the southern kingdom and the rise of the beast empire, number 7, and the anti-Messiah, you know what day it is. All right? You will know what day it is. Therefore, trying to correct time is not the issue, but finding its correct path is, so that we can keep the correct Shabbat and we can keep the correct feast days. Meaning that our feast days must line up with dates according to the new moon and the full moon to make sure that we are celebrating HaShabbat, meaning the Sabbaths, on their appointed days. Knowing that time will soon be no more ought to give us comfort for all the time we had lost. For soon time will be no more. Now let us review the new calendar months, which will reflect these new changes. So I'm saying all of that to say this. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about losing time. We've lost days, months, weeks, years. Days, weeks, months, years, that's better. We've lost time. But Allah Hayam's, he's got it. He knows what time it is. And what we need to focus on are the prophecies. All right? And like I said to you, we may not be able to perfectly figure out everything, but we try our best And we don't stop trying until the day he regathers us. All right? We just keep trying and trying and trying. He will not fault us for trying. But if you become lazy and become that slothful servant, then that's not going to please him. What pleases him is to see his people diligently searching and seeking for the truth. And we cannot give up. We cannot grow faint, grow weary in trying to find the truth. We cannot let pride get in the way either. All right. So let us look at the revised calendar. This may be a little bit old, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to post them on the community post, okay? So remember I told you that I discovered my error for the Feast of Tabernacles, because the Feast of Tabernacles should have been here. But in the old calendar, it is, let me see if I can find the old calendar. Oh no, it might not be here. Anyways, it is on the community post, the old calendar, and you'll see that it is nowhere near the full moon. Okay? So I had to start the month and go backwards, so to speak. But I didn't really have to, because we know that the new moon here is on the 2nd of October, which happens to be the month of Alawal. Well, I didn't put in the dates for Alawal because I just figured it was a waste of time. The days have already been passed. I'm just figuring out right now for the future months. But I use this as a gauge, all right, to figure it out. So we start with the new moon here in the month of October, which would lead us to our next month, which is Ayat and Ayam. That's our 7th month. So we know the new moon is 0 light. So before it would be 1/28th of light, 1/14th of light, and then this will be 1/14th, 1/14th, all the way through. All right. So we reverse this now. This is 0 light. So now it grows to 1/28th of light, and it grows to 1/14th of light. And this will be 1/14th, 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 until it reaches the full moon, which is here. All right? It reaches here. So if you see that we start our month, the beginning of our month here at 1/14th, the 2nd day after the new moon, because that's when you would normally see the first sliver, and I have been seeing the first sliver 2 days after the new moon. All right, so this is the formula. Okay, so this is the formula we're going to keep, and we're just going to go with it. So we know now that the Shabbat will fall on the Wednesday, Thursday. Well, the month that I'm in right now is the month of November. So we know that this is already past. The Feast of Tabernacles passed. Everything passed. So now let's move on to the next month. All right. The next month, Ayat and Ayam, we know the new moon is the 1st of November. All right. So before that, and this is where we see that actually I should have had a list of months, the list of months that this should have fallen. Oh, all right. I will have to do it the other way. I'm sorry, because I did have a list of what months will have 30 days and 31 days and how they were changed. All right, so I have the list here. So this is the month of Ayat and Ayam. That's the 7th month, and it normally would have 30 days, and it fits. You see how it fits? Fits perfectly, right? So we have here, coming on to the ending of the month, 1/14th, 1/28th, 0 light, 1/28th light, and then the beginning of the month here, we have 1/14th. So the month of Ayat and Ayam fits perfectly here. So let's carry on. So now the Shabbat now will be here. And then we have the full moon, which is like almost in the middle of the month, 13th or the 14th of the month. All right. So let's move on to the next month. So we now have the new moon on December 1st. December 1st, we have the new moon. This is still Bawal. And so we have 0 light. So the formula would be 0, 1/28th, 1/14th. And here we come, this is the ending of Bawal. And Bawal has 30 days. So again, see how it fits this time. And then we start with Kasala. Kasala is 1/14th of the light. So then we move into like the 13th of the month, up thereabouts. This is the full moon. This is like the middle of our month. All right. So then we move, and so we see the Shabbat now is Sunday, Monday, Sunday evening to Monday evening, and then the new moon is on the 31st of December. All right, 0 light. So 2 days before, we have on the 27th of our month, which will be the 29th of December, we have the 1/14th of light. Then we have the next day, the 28th day of our month, 1/28th of light. Then the 29th, we have 0 light. And then we reverse that. 120 is now growing, 1/28th of light, which is day 30 of our month. So let's see how many days should be in the month of Kasala. Kasala should have 31 days. Should have 31 days. But we cannot make it 31 because the beginning of the next month must occur here at the 1/14th light. So we have to drop off that 31st day. All right, and it stays true. So let's look at the next calendar. Oh, and we see that we see that the Shabbat is Sunday, Monday. Yes, I said that. So now let's move on. Now this is going into January. And we have the full moon, the 13th of the month. You see, it's going to be like 13th, 14th of the month. And we're going to have the full moon. Shabbat now is Tuesday, Wednesday. And the new moon is on the 29th of January, which is the 28th day of our month, 0 light. So you see the formula. 2 days before the new moon, 1/14th of light, 1/28th of light, 0 light. Then we reverse it. We have 1/28th of light on our 29th day. And for the month of Tabath, let's see, Tabath. Is it Tabath? Let's see here. Yes, should be 30 days. But instead, we can only do 29 days. Remember, we've lost time because of the Gregorian calendar and because of the change in time that fits the Gregorian calendar, we will lose time. But if we stay true to the new moon, the full moon, the new moon and the full moon, we will not fail. This calendar will be correct. All right, it will be correct. And then here, the beginning of the month, Shabbat, it starts here, 1/14th of light, supposed to be 1/14th, first sliver. All right, and then the Shabbat now changes from Tuesday, Wednesday to Wednesday, Thursday. Let's move on to month of February, still Shabbat for us. The full moon, see, on the 13th of the month. And then the new moon is on the 28th of February, and which is the 29th of our month of Shabbat. And see the formula, sorry, 1/14th on the 27th, 1/28th on the 28th day of our month, Shabbat. Then you have 0 light. Then we have 30. On the 30th, we have 1/28th. And we start the month of Adar, which is the last month of our year here, 1/14th of light. So let's see how many days Adar has. Adar is supposed to have 31 days. So we could not start our time here. We have to start it here. We have to stay true to the formula. So we lose a day. All right, we lose a day. So instead of 31 days, this month now has 30 days. And then the Shabbat will be Friday, Saturday. Full moon on the 13th. So you see how consistent it is? It's consistent with the full moon being on the 13th and full moon and the new moon, well, as long as we keep the formula going. So now we're finishing up the month of Adar, and the new moon will be on the 28th of our month of Adar, the 29th of March. So 2 days before, we have here 1/14th of light on the 26th of our month of Adar. 1/28th of light will be on the 27th of Adar, and then 0 light on the 28th of Adar. And 29th, sorry, 0 light on the 28th of Adar, and on the 29th we have 1/28th of light on the 29th of our month Adar. And now we start our new month. That Abayab should have been here. I don't know why it's doing on the 2nd, but it should have been here. This is the first of Abayab. I will change it before I post it on the community post. So this is 1/14th of light. So let's see how many days the month of Adar has. Let's see here. Adar is supposed to have 31 days. Let's see something here. The months of Shabbat. Okay, I made a mistake. So sorry, so sorry, so sorry. So I call this Adar, but it's supposed to be, this is correct. 30 days for the month of Shabbat. Shabbat's supposed to have 30 days. So this is true. This has not lost any days. All right. I get confused sometimes with these months. So 30 days. This is true for the month of Shabbat. All right. It did not lose any days. But Adar, because Adar is supposed to have 31 days, it has lost a day. So actually, it lost more than one day. It lost 2 days because this is the 29th. And it's supposed to have 31 days. So it lost 2 days. So imagine if I try to fit in those 2 days here, then the beginning of our month will be so far away from the new moon. And it's supposed to be 2 days after the new moon. All right, right here, Abayab. So now the Shabbat will be on the 7th. Sorry, on Saturday, Saturday, Sunday. We can't look at the Gregorian number days there. We're looking at our days. So this is the 6th, at the evening of the 6th to the evening of the 7th. And that's from Saturday evening to Sunday evening. All right. So remember we talked about that earlier, that that's the only time that our calendar that we will celebrate our Shabbat on a Sunday proper. All right. So now I have here the 3 days of darkness. Now this is going into the Passover season. All right. Passover season. So we have here that this is the 7th of our month. Remember, there are 3 days for the 3 days of darkness, because the chariots, according to what I've seen in the prophecies and in the feast days, they can appear. This is the year 2025. That's next year, on the 10th of Abayab. So I have here the question marks because it would be 7, the evening of, it can actually start from here, the evening of the 6th to the evening of the 7th to the 8th to the 9th. And because we don't know the exact time when this will occur, it can begin in the afternoon, it can begin in the morning, it can begin at night, and the same thing with the chariots. So I just kind of have estimation. So anywhere between, because the evening of the 6th to the evening of the 7th makes the 7th day, right? So an evening of the 9th to the evening of the 10th makes the 10th day. So basically, these are the, you know, we watch for these dates for the 3 days of darkness and the regathering of the southern kingdom in chariots. All right, so you have this green as well here. But like you see here, I have question marks. And if it doesn't occur this month, on this particular year, then we have to wait for the next year. All right. Now, at the end of the day, Allah Hayam knows the perfect time. Right? I'm just giving you an estimate. All right. I'm giving you an estimate. All right. So then we carry on. We have here now the full moon. And this is where Pesach and the feast of Pesach and the feast of unleavened bread starts. Full moon. That's when our forefathers left Goshen. Right? The evening of the 14th, the evening of the 15th, to make the 15th day. That's when the feast of unleavened bread also starts, and it goes on for 7 days. All right, and we're going to have, yeah, this is Shabbat, right there, and this will be a Shabbat as well. All right, because the weekly Shabbat is the 13th to the 14th of the month, and then the feast of Pesach / the feast of unleavened bread will begin on the evening of the 14th to the evening of the 15th. So there are two Shabbatawaf back to back here, from the 13th to the 15th, two Shabbatawaf. All right, and let's see, it will occur again for, no, so it ends on the 21st. So we go back here, the evening of the 20th to the evening of the 21st will be the Shabbatawaf, Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, as well as the ending of Pesach / unleavened bread. So now we're moving on to the waving of the sheaf. And I have here question marks because we don't have any idea of when exactly the waving of the sheaf. The only information that we were given is that it is after this feast day, which happens to also be a Shabbat. All right, it will always be a Shabbat when this feast day has ended. So after this feast day has ended and it's after the Shabbat, then we have our forefathers will go and get a sheaf on any of these days, any of these 4 days, to go and take it to the priest to be waved. All right. So now we're going into the ending of the month of Abayab on the 26th, 27th, and 28th being the no light. And we still have Shabbat again, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, Sunday will be our Shabbat, 27th to the 28th. That's the last of that particular month. But it continues on again here. The 29th of Abayab is the ending of our month. It used to be 30 days, but now it ends with just 29 days. 128th of light, and it grows to 114th, and the beginning of the second month called Zor. All right, and then we start our Shabbat again. Sunday, Monday. Actually, I did say I thought I was yeah. So this here is the last of the Shabbat for the month of Abayab. Um, the 27th of Abayab to the 28th of Abayab. So always our Shabbat will always be the 6th to the 7th, the 13th to the 14th, the 20th to the 21st, the 27th to the 28th. Those are our days for Shabbat, our weekly Shabbat. All right. And so then we start our Shabbat now Sunday, Monday. I thought it went back to, I don't know, my eyes glazed over there for a minute. Sunday, Mondays will be the new weekly Shabbat. All right, and we have the full moon here on the 14th of our month. So I said anywhere between the 13th, 14th, maybe even the 15th, you will see the full moon. All right, but the moon is still full, right? Now you see here in blue, we have 1 here, then we have 2, then we have 3, and we have 4. These are counting the Shabbat for the day of Pentecost. So it's supposed to be 50 days, but actually it's better to count the 7 Shabbathawath. It is more accurate. So we have the waving of the sheaf is any of these days, but we know it cannot occur on, well, actually it can occur on this day as well, but it cannot occur on the day of Shabbat. All right. So we know there's a window here of 5 days in which they can wave the sheaf. He said after the feast day, after the Shabbat, then you have the waving of the sheaf. All right. So it gives them a window of all these days in order to bring the first sheaf of the barley harvest. Is it the barley or the wheat harvest? The wheat harvest, sorry. Of the wheat harvest to wave before. Okay, I'm getting myself confused. The waving of the sheaf, let's just call it that. My brain is completely off as to whether it's the barley or the wheat. The wheat is in the summertime. Actually, it's the barley sheaf. To think there for a second, I had to really think because I'm working on a number of studies right now, so it takes me a while to get back into the mode of thinking of, okay, this would be the barley sheaf. All right, the wheat will happen as a loaf. They will make a loaf, and it happens in the summertime, which would happen, which is actually if I had done the calendar, it would be around June, which happens to be um, the timing of our day of Pentecost. Because this right now is April, this is May, then May will finish, and then it will be June. Okay, let me finish this. So after the waving of the sheaf week, we start the counting of the Shabbat right after. All right. So the evening of the 27th to the evening of the 28th, which is the last Shabbat in Abayab, will be the first weekly Shabbat that you count. All right. Then you count the second Shabbat for the month of Zor, the third and the fourth, and we will go all the way through to the seventh Shabbat, and then the day after that will be the day of Pentecost, the 50th day. All right, 7 Shabbat plus 1 day will make the day of Pentecost. Now, if we are still here, I will do the calendar. If we're not, then it's not, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So, but then again, for those who like the Northern Kingdom, they will want to see it. Yeah, so maybe if the Most High leads me to to do it, then I will do it. But it is an easy formula. All you need to do is follow what I have done here. You know, you may know the new moon is always zero light, and you just count 2 days before and you apply the formula 1/14th, 1/28th, and you have zero. Then you go backwards. Well, actually, you're not going backwards, but you're going forward in light. The light now is growing to 1/28th to 1/14th, and then the 1/14th, that's the beginning of our month. Don't worry about the 30 and 31 days. If it fits, it fits. If it doesn't fit, then we just adjust. All right. So let's finish up with this. I will make these newly revised calendar months available on the community page. Yes, look at YAHAWAH, the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 34. And all Habanai, all Yashwa'al will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons. And Ha-Shabbathawath, and they will wrongly determine all the order of the years. So this is the reason why we need to pay attention to the new moons. The new moons help us to find our path. We lost our path of years, don't worry about that. But for our months, we can still find the path of time for our months, for our celebrations, whether the weekly Shabbat or our feast days, all right? Verse 35. For I know, and from now on will I declare it to you, and it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written in the presence of me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, or they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. And this is the reason why this was done. It was done maliciously and purposefully to keep the whole world, those who want to be religious and those who are Yashwa'al, to follow after their error, to worship their gods, and on their unholy days, worship their gods on their unholy days, to keep us away from the truth. Because we know when Allah Hayam is honored by our obedience to keeping his Shabbathawath and keeping his feast days, he will bless us. And they don't want that. They know that when we are in the dark, they have control over us. But when we are in the light, they have no control over us. We are in the world, but we are not of the world. And Allah Hayam will step in and fight for us. And they don't want that. The path of years and YAHAWAH were returned to Habanai Yashwa'al when they were in the wilderness, when they were living in Goshen. They went astray from their calendar, but they were able to retrieve it through Masha, who went up Mount Sinai and returned with the laws, commandments, statutes, judgments, ordinances, and other related knowledge, but especially with the count of the path of years and understanding the Jubilee years. This will not be happening exactly this way again for the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, but we will be informed when we are regathered. So when the southern kingdom is regathered, we will be restored. All that we have lost will be restored. And the same thing with the northern kingdom. And eventually the Gentiles, they too will be restored when Hamashiach comes. All right. Let's look at YAHAWAH, the book of Jubilees, chapter 50, verse 1. I made this law known to you the days of Hashabbathawath, meaning the Sabbaths, in the desert of Sinai, between Elim and Sinai. I told you of Hashabbathawath, of the land on Mount Sinai, and I told you of the Jubilee years in Hashabbathawath of years, the Sabbath of years. But I have not told you the year of it until you enter the land which you are to possess. Keep Hashabbathawath of the land while they live on it, and they shall know the Jubilee years. So the Shabbat of the land was 7 years. Every 7th year, they were supposed to let the land go wild. Every 7th year. And that helped them to keep count of the Jubilee years. Verse 4, I have ordained for you the year of weeks and the years and the Jubilees. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, meaning the day when they were in the wilderness. 49 Jubilees. And 1 year and 2 years. So I should have said 49 Jubilees, 1 week and 2 years, from the days of Adam to the time when they were in the wilderness, when Masha went up the mountain and came back down with all the instructions. And there are 40 years yet to come for learning the commandments of Yahweh, and that goes hand in hand with the 40 years that our forefathers wandered in the wilderness until they passed over into the land of Canaan, crossing Yarden to the west. So that's when they took possession of the land. So we know it's a total then of 49 plus 40 Jubilees. That's 89 Jubilees, 1 week and 2 years. So 1 week would be 7 years, and 2 years would be 9 years. So if you do the calculation, it's 40 and 49, which is 89, plus 9 years, that's about 98 years. 1 week plus 2 years, that's 7, and 2 would be 9. 9 plus 9 is 9 plus 89, will give you a total of 98 years. All right? 98 years that they were from Adam to the time they entered into their land. All right? And then I did this calculation when I did the study. I can't remember the study, if it was the covenant or one of those studies, but he said he withheld because it didn't take them, even though they started to pass over, right? By the time they actually took full possession of the land of that we call Yashraal, the 2.5 tribes on the other side of Yarden, and the 9.5 tribes in the land called Yashraal, it will have been 100 Jubilees, because they didn't just march into the land and took it over. They had to war. All right? They had to war in order to take possession of the land. And Allah Hayam helped them to help drive out the giants that were living in the land. Okay? So that his people can come and take over the land. All right? So it will be then a total of 100 Jubilees when they entered into the land and took full possession and dwelled in the land. Okay? The land of Yashraal. Let's finish up with verse 5. The Jubilees shall pass by until Yashraal is cleansed for all guilt of fornication and uncleanness and pollution and sin and error, and dwells with confidence in all the land. So let's look at that again. He said the Jubilees shall pass by. until Yashwa'al is cleansed of all guilt of fornication. So Al-Hayam already knew that there was going to be a time when the Jubilees are just going to be slipping past us because of our guilt of fornication, uncleanness, pollution, and sin, error, and until the time we dwell with confidence in all the land. And that will be when Hamashiach returns to the earth with the southern kingdom. All right? When he returns, the Jubilees will come to an end. It will be the 6,000th year, the start of the millennial reign. So that's why I'm telling you, don't worry about the Jubilees. Don't worry about time that we have lost. We just pay attention to make sure that we are keeping the celebrations on the days that he told us to celebrate them, the Shabbats, the Shabbatawaf on the correct days, and the feast days on the correct days. All right? So he already knew that the Jubilees are just going to slip by us. We are living in lands of our captivity. We're living on the Gregorian calendar. All right? It is difficult to figure out our Jubilees. There shall be no more Satan or any evil one, and the land shall be clean from that time forever. Has that happened yet? Those people live in our land, are they living without any evil? Is the land there clean? Have the Satans been destroyed? No. We're living under darkness, and that darkness comes from the Satans. So that has not happened yet. This prophecy here has not happened yet. But it will come to pass because we know that the last Satan will be locked up for 1,000 years. And there will be peace on the earth for 1,000 years. And the land, before the northern kingdom enters into it, will be clean. It will be cleansed by the two witnesses. All right? And it will remain clean from that time and forevermore until Allah gives us a new heaven, a new earth, a new YAHAWAH'S. All right? So I hope this makes sense now. It makes total sense to me, to be honest with you. Because it kind of bothered me a little bit that the days of our months were, the beginning of our months were drifting farther and farther away from the new moon. Farther and farther away. Started out by 2 days, 3 days, then 5 days, then 8 days. I'm like, okay, this is not right. But I didn't know what else to do, you know. But when he finally, because he does this to me, he's like, okay, come back to the drawing table. And I will show you what is wrong. And let me tell you, when I recognized that the Feast of Trumpets was not being celebrated when there was a full moon, that's when I knew something was definitely wrong. And I was already deep in the study of the feast days, so I kind of had to compartmentalize the studies and say, okay, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. But it kind of helped me to, as I'm finishing up the feast days, to understand this final piece of the puzzle, to have the calendar not starting its months so far away from the new moon, but within 2 days. And it's keeping the months consistent. That's the thing. It's keeping the middle of the month, the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, and even the ending of the end of the month can't. It's consistent sometimes, because if the month is calling for 30 days, some of the months do end on the 30th day. But if it can't fit, then we don't force it. If it wants to end on the 28th, we let it end on the 28th. If it wants to end on the 29th, we let it end on the 29th. Because if we don't, we're going to distort the next month and then the next month after that, because it's going to start compounding. All right? Okay. Let's end with the blessing for Yahawah, taken from Baal Madabar, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. That's the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahawah wa Yashamarak. May Yahawah keep you. May Yahawah bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahawah panayo alayak wa yachanak. May Yahawah cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahawah panayo alayak wa yasham lak shalawam. May Yahawah lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now I'm going to recite the command where Yahawah instructs us to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in, taken from the Barayam, chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. That's Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Shama o Yashwa'al, Yahawah Allah Hayanal, Yahawah Ahad, wa Ahabath Af, Yahawah Allah Hayak, Bakal Babak, Ubakal Napashat, Ubakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahawah our Allah Hayam is one Yahawah, and you shall love Yahawah your Allah Hayam with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And with that, I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam. All praises to the Most High. Abba Yah.